In this lesson, we'll use Rails generators to scaffold basic Rails applications. In order to generate a Rails application skeleton, you can use the command line, and specifically the Rails new command. We're also going to create a database for our application. Typically, the first step in creating a web application is creating a data model, which is a representation of the structures needed by our application. I'm going to be creating a Twitter-style microblog with only users and microposts. First, I'm going to create the models for the users of the app, and also the content of the app, the microposts. The model for our users is going to be very simple. Each user will have a unique identifier called ID of type integer, a public-facing name of type string, and an email address of type string. The email address will also serve as a unique username. The micropost data model has an ID of type integer and a content field of type text. The only additional consideration is that we need to associate a micropost with a particular user. To do this, we will record the user ID of the post owner. In our Rails application, the users will correspond to a table in a database, and the ID, name, and email attributes are columns in that table. So far, we've only planned our eventual implementation of the data models in our application. We still need to create them. We can quickly scaffold our Rails application by passing the scaffold command to the Rails generate script. The argument we pass to the scaffold command is the singular version of the resource name, in this case, user. Optionally, we can also pass parameters for the data model's attributes. Take note, there's no need to include a parameter for ID. It's created automatically by Rails to use as the primary key in the database. We now need to migrate the database to match our new models. To do that, we'll run Rails db migrate. Our database is now updated with our new user's data model. We can start our Rails development server by typing Rails server. Our application should now be being served to localhost port 3000. Because we generated the user's resource scaffolding, we also generated a large number of pages for manipulating users. If we go to /users, as you might expect, there are currently no users at all. To make a user, we can go to users/new. At this location, Rails generated a form for adding users. I can generate a user with the name Jane Doe and the email address janedoe@example.com. Because this is our first user, Rails would assign an ID of 1 to this user. If I wanted to see this user's info, I can go to users/1. And if I want to edit that user's info, I can go to users/1/edit. Let's do this next part together. Let's use the Rails new command in order to generate a blank Rails app with the name sample app. After doing that, we'll need to change directories into our new application. Next, use the Rails db create command to initialize the database. Then we'll scaffold out our user model using the Rails generate scaffold command. Now we'll migrate the database so it's in sync with our new user model. Let's test our current application by running the Rails development server. We'll test our user scaffolding by going to users/new and creating our first user. Then, let's go to users/1 to see the new user's info. Finally, we can test the ability to edit the user's info by going to users/1/edit. Complete the following steps on your own. Initialize a new Rails app in the command line. Create a database for your new app. Generate a scaffold for a user model in your app. migrate the database to be in sync with the new model, run a Rails development server, test the scaffolding for the new model that you generated.